those of you who don't know me, my name is Jonathan Van Bilsen, and welcome to our conversation today with our Member of Provincial Parliament for Durham Region, Lindsey Park. The program today is presented by the Scugog Chamber of Commerce. Now, our show is live, as I mentioned, but it will be available on Rogers Television as well as the Chamber's website and the YouTube channel. We've had many questions submitted by people, so we will not be using the chat system, and we will get to some of those questions once after we've had our introduction. Before we begin, though, what I wanted to do was make special mention of our sponsor for today's event, Ontario Tech University. I'd like to ask Susan McGovern, who's the Vice President of External Relations and Advancement for Ontario Tech, to give us a brief overview of the university, as well as introducing MPP Park.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm really pleased to be here today and to support this great event for the Scugog Chamber and for MPP Park as well, and Jonathan as well as you. I just want to talk a little bit about our return to campus planning. Right now, our planning is well underway for 2021 and 2022, and we're working hard as we move through the pandemic. We're very committed to creating a university that's rich in experience inside and outside the classroom, whether it's virtual, whether it's on campus, or whether it's a combination of both. One thing, a call to action for everyone listening today, is if you do know any students that are at Ontario Tech, please encourage them to join the virtual sessions that we have. We have all kinds of them, and it will really help them feel better and become part of the community campus. The second thing is the health, safety, and wellness. We have a laser focus on that for our students. And again, there's all kinds of support services for students that need that. They can call their professors, they can call Student Life, they can call the Health and Wellness Center, and we have all kinds of things online. We send them emails and social media and texts all the time to remind them. So if they're getting themselves into trouble or feeling that they have some emotional issues, please ask them to reach out. We're there to support them. And the final thing is that as we move through our planning, we are planning for September. Depending on what happens with the pandemic, we will either be all online or on campus, or a combination of both. We think as the pandemic continues to move forward with different waves that it'll be a combination of both, but we're doing what we can to make sure that the students are engaged. And finally, thank you to all of you out there who have supported our students in the Student Relief Fund. That's really, really helped the students, as a lot of them are struggling to find jobs and they need money to have food security and pay their rent. So thanks again for your support, and really reach out to the university if you or they need anything. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Lindsey Park. It's my distinct pleasure, actually, and I should refer to as MPP Lindsey Park. We've known each other for quite a while, and I need to say that, Lindsey, you are a great champion of the university. Your door is always open for us, and I immensely appreciate that. It's been a pleasure working with you and to continue working with you. Lindsey Park is the MPP for Durham and the Parliamentary Assistant for the Attorney General in the province of Ontario. Before her election in 2019, Lindsey was experienced and successful civil litigator lawyer, representing clients across Ontario, including clients in Durham Region. As a young woman, which you still are, Lindsey, as a younger woman, you played elite hockey for Durham West Girls Hockey Association and went on to play the NCAA Division First Hockey at Wayne State University, and that's where you obtained your Bachelor of Science. Then you came home and you completed your law degree at the University of Ottawa, where you worked as an advisor to the Federal Minister of the Environment. So Lindsey, I'm so pleased to introduce you, and I will now pass it over to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Sue, for that kind introduction. And it's what's been great to see, and you mentioned all the support Ontario Tech is providing to their students, but what's also been wonderful to see over the last year and a half is that support does not end at the boundaries of your campus. And you really have gone above and beyond to support the whole Durham Region community. And it was great to see that what we've been describing as Ontario spirit, and what that was incredible work and collaboration coming out of the university whether it was collaborating on world-class research with Durham Region Public Health in testing wastewater to help identify potential COVID-19 outbreaks before they start, or partnering with Ontario Power Generation to produce face shields with your 3D printers during the early days of the pandemic. And I also remember you guys donating loads of PPE, and in specific to, I remember I reached out with some members, some vulnerable homes in the area I represent in Clarington, and how you were right away, yep, how can we help, and willing to donate the PPE they needed to keep the residents and their staff safe. Ontario Tech, I truly believe, will continue to play a key role in our local economic recovery as they help students get the skills and education they need for the in-demand jobs of today and tomorrow. And we know the job market's is changing, and the training provided at Ontario Tech and also Durham College, is really enabling not only students but employers in our region to be ready for the market that exists today and the markets that are coming. And so with that, it's truly a pleasure to be here virtually with you all. I know it's not the best way to meet, but I consider it second best. I'd rather meet virtually than not at all. And today I'm going to take the opportunity to speak about particularly what was in the Ontario 2021 budget. And Tony at the Chamber had reached out to me shortly after we released the budget at the province and said, would you come speak to Chamber members, the business community, and all the families and residents who want to listen at a virtual event that the Scugog Chamber would like to host. And so here we are, Tony. There's always a lot of planning that goes into this. So thank you so much to you and your team. And also to Jonathan Van Bilsen for hosting this event today. And of course, Sue McGovern and Ontario Tech for sponsoring it. I also know, I think I heard wind that probably Mayor Bobby Drew is also joining us virtually today, as well as I think I saw Regional Chair John Henry join us. So thank you both for joining us virtually. Now there's a lot in the 2021 budget, and I'll hold it up for you because I have the hard copy with me. I don't usually get to carry this around when I'm at podiums, but since I'm at home, I have the copy here. And a fun fact I just learned is when you're standing up in the legislature, you're not actually allowed to lift this document off your desk when you're speaking. That's considered a violation of the chamber rules. So I'm going to take advantage of being able to lift it off my desk when speaking to you guys. But there's a lot in the budget, but I thought I'd pick a few things to highlight that I think chamber members will be most interested in. And so I'm going to go through some of those things and leave time for questions that I know Jonathan has. So clearly the first priority as a province right now needs to be and is getting vaccines to everyone who wants them. And so this is by far the most frequent topic I'm asked about by my constituents, and it has been by far the top issue for months. We hosted a virtual healthcare town hall in January, it was. And overnight, and Dr. Kyle was on it, as well as Dr. Tony Stone, the Chief of Staff at Lakeridge Health. And by far the top question we got was about the vaccine. And I think at that time it was something like over 90% of the questions we got were on that topic. So I know that's the thing that's top of mind for everyone. And so that's why in the 2021 budget, our government set aside more than $1 billion for our province-wide vaccination plan. And this plan has 3 phases. And is a plan to activate every available healthcare resource we have. We're doing everything we can as a province to vaccinate everyone who wants a vaccine as quickly as possible. And so we officially entered phase 2 of the vaccine rollout in the province of Ontario. So you're starting to see more people become eligible. You're starting to see some essential workers become eligible in phase 2. As well as those with pre-existing conditions that make them perhaps more vulnerable to COVID-19 and make them at more risk. And so the best place to go to get the latest information is the Durham Public Health website. They'll have the latest eligibility, listed there. And as of today, we've made significant progress, although I know everyone wants more vaccines, yesterday. We're getting them out as soon as we receive them at the province. But as of today, we've administered over 4 million vaccine doses across the province. And we continually to rapidly expand our capacity to administer more vaccines with a focus on those most at risk. And that's, of course, as we receive more supply from the federal government. In Scugog, we have 2 pharmacies online offering AstraZeneca and 2 more in the works. Public health is also has rotating clinics through North Durham. And I know the latest is primary care. Our doctors in Port Perry are also starting to receive the vaccine and will be reaching out. So you may hear, if you live in Scugog and you're watching, you may have your doctor reach out to you and see if you're interested in taking the vaccine as they get the supply. Another important piece of the budget is a topic we've heard a lot about during the pandemic, and that's the importance of moving forward in our long-term care sector. And so in budget 2021, our government's investing an additional $650 million in the 2021-2022 year to protect our seniors in long-term care homes, to prevent the spread of the virus, increase staffing, and buy more PPE, such as masks. And some great local news connecting back to the vaccine rollout is we were one of the first regions of the province to have every long-term care resident who wanted it receive both doses of the vaccine. And since that time, we've seen very few. The last update I got was we had seen no cases among residents in long-term care in Durham for months. And so we've seen tremendous success since getting the vaccine out to long-term care residents, and it's really proving to keep them safe. We're also investing an additional $933 million as part of the larger plan that's a $2.6 billion plan to build 30,000 long-term care beds in Ontario. And we're also putting on top of that $246 million into improving living conditions in existing homes. We know the problem is not only that we need new homes, we also need to upgrade our existing homes. And you'll hear when you talk about the long-term care homes in Durham Region that many of them still have what are called Class C beds, meaning they were built to old design standards. And that's where you hear the term like ward rooms or 4-bed, rooms. And the truth is we don't build homes that way anymore. But some of these homes were built so long ago that they were built to those old standards. And so we know not only do we need to build new beds, but we need to improve the existing ones and bring them up to modern design standards. And so we're making good on our promise to rebuild the long-term care sector that suffered under decades of neglect under the previous administration. And I'm always I repeat this stat because it still surprises me every time. But the previous government built only 611 beds across the entire province between 2011 and 2018. And that's we all can see how our seniors population is growing. We have more people over the age of 65 than under the age of 65. That's obviously not sufficient to keep up with the demand. And so that's why we're working on new projects in Durham Region. And that includes new projects, a new project recently announced in Port Perry. And so we've announced an investment that will enable Port Perry Place to build 192 new and 32 upgraded long-term care spaces in a brand new home built to modern standards for a total of a new 224-bed long-term care home. And they're currently, the common question I got after that announcement is so is it a new building? Where is it going to be? Everyone's eager to know. And so they're currently going through the site selection process. And so I know we're all eager to hear more soon on that. The Port Perry project is in addition to a project in Bowmanville that will see a new home with 125 new and 99 upgraded beds on land that was donated by the Recker family in Clarington. And many of you will know that name if you've been to Recker's Garden Center. And so their generous donation has really made been a big part of making that new home possible. And we're eager to put shovels in the ground on that very soon. And on the topic of healthcare more broadly, I'm also proud to see projects in our community that our community has been working on for a long time come to fruition. And that is the first residential hospice in Durham Region, right in Port Perry. And so back, some of you will remember, many of you were there in person when we were still allowed to do announcements in person. So back in November 2019, I joined the Minister of Health in Port Perry to announce an expanded plan for the first hospice in Durham Region, including, increasing the plan from 5 beds to an 8-bed hospice. And so at the time, we announced an additional $600,000 in capital funding to support construction of the additional beds, bringing that capital investment up to $1.6 million. And so this is going to be, and many of you have driven by it, but it's a new 12,500 square foot 8-bed facility, and it's finally ready to open this spring. And there are so many people that have worked so hard to make this hospice a reality. I remember being at the Port Perry Rotary event. So this is before I was elected. And this was, of course, the major project that everyone was fundraising for at the time. There was incredible community support for this project, and that's what made it possible. I want to thank specifically Ann Wright, the Capital Campaign Chair, Betty Hodgins, the project manager, Dr. Steve Russell, who will be the first medical director there, Stephen Gray, the board chair, as well as board members Gail Guimond, Kevin Morgan, and Dave Sidhu are all long-standing contributors or donors to this project. And actually, the hospice will be named Morgan and Sidhu House in honor of Mr. Morgan and Mr. Sidhu, who are legacy donors to this project. So the 2021 budget has also laid out a record level of investment in our economy. Bringing the government, this investment brings the government's total investment to protect Ontario's economy during this time to $23.3 billion. And I want to highlight a few aspects of, specifically what are some programs that this is going towards to support local businesses during this time. And so one of the parts of that is a new grant that was announced in the budget called the Tourism and Hospitality Small Business Support Grant. And we all know tourism is a big component of our local economy in Scugog. And so that is an estimated $100 million in one-time payments of $10,000 to $20,000 to eligible small businesses in the tourism and hospitality sectors to help them recover from the impacts of COVID-19. And with this investment, total support for the tourism, culture, sports, recreation, and heritage, it's a mouthful, industries since the start of the pandemic totals $625 million. And we know the tourism and hospitality sector has been extremely hard hit due to the pandemic. And while our government has had to make hard decisions to keep everyone safe, we're also committed to having the backs of our tourism operators who contribute so much to our communities and our economy, and we all know that's true in Scugog. So these one-time support payments will be available to eligible small businesses, including hotels, motels, travel agencies, amusement and water parks, hunting and fishing camps, and recreational and vacation camps, including children's overnight summer camps. And this grant will directly support key tourism operators in our own backyard to provide much needed financial relief and keep these businesses open for years to come. Another grant, and I know I've been working with many small businesses in Scugog to make sure they could qualify and get in and get the benefit of this grant. But another grant our government's reinvesting in is a second round of the Ontario Small Business Support Grant. And so as restrictions continue to affect small businesses disproportionately, we thought it was important to provide a second round of this support. And this is that grant that was, again, between $10,000 and $20,000, depending on the amount your business lost. And our government's offering a second round of those payments to eligible recipients. And that's approximately 120,000 small businesses across the province that automatically benefit from this second round. They didn't have to reapply. Just if you got the first payment to your account, the second payment's automatically coming through. And that's automatically, an additional $1.7 billion in relief through this grant going to our small businesses. Again, that's a minimum of $10,000 and up to $20,000 if there's a second round of. And I don't need to tell anyone on this call at the Scugog Chamber that, small businesses are the backbone of Ontario's economy, and they're the lifeblood of our communities. And so we understand the measures that go to supporting our small businesses will strengthen the economy as a whole. In turn, it'll help jumpstart our economic recovery locally and drive future economic growth. And that program I want to mention was specifically designed to disproportionately help smaller businesses. And that was intentional. And I remember, there's been this great debate about how restrictions have unfairly affected some aspects of the economy. And there's no question that this pandemic is unfair. And so this program was designed to try and, as I said, disproportionately help the smallest businesses. I'd also like to touch on the new temporary Ontario jobs training tax credit. So many people have, we all have friends and or family who have lost their jobs and have needed to change their careers to get by during this terrible time. And our government is providing support through this tax credit to those who are looking to retrain and transition to a new sector to open up their job opportunities. And so this credit, the way it works, it offsets the cost of going back to school or taking on a skills or trade certification exam or course so they can get the additional training they need to enter back into the workforce. And so it functions as a personal income tax credit that would be refundable and provide support to individuals whether or not they owe income tax in 2021. And it'll be calculated as 50% of eligible expenses for 2021 up to a maximum credit of $2,000. And eligible expenses will include occupational skills courses, occupational trade or professional exams, and post-secondary education courses. And I know Ontario Tech and Durham College have been working hard to develop what are known as micro-credentials, but you don't have to enter into an entire university or college degree to get the training you need. And so I also, and perhaps Sue wants to say more about that at the end, but I want to jump now to parents who may be watching this event. I also want to highlight the Ontario COVID-19 Child Benefit. So this benefit is another round of direct support for eligible parents who previously received it. You might have heard the term, it was called the Support for Learners payments before this. So we're taking that program and doubling the amount received this time. So families in Scugog will receive $400 for each child aged 0 to up to grade 12. Previously, the payment was $200 for each child. And you'll receive $500 for children and youth 21 years old or younger with special needs. And previously, that payment was $250 per child. So parents who had not applied for previous payments will be able to apply for this third round. And so if you have questions about how to apply, just reach out to my office and we're happy to help. This benefit is estimated to provide almost $1 billion, $980 million in relief to families province-wide. And so we're making, I see the time. And so, we're making significant investments because we value parents and families, and we recognize families have borne extra burdens as a result of the pandemic, having to accommodate unexpected costs of virtual learning and equipment, the provision of care for their children, on top of many dealing with a loss of work or income to their household. And so these are direct supports that will tangibly help families in Scugog. And this is on top of the CARE tax credit, the Child Care Access and Relief from Expenses tax credit for 2021, which it would increase support for parents from $1,250 to $1,500 on average, helping with affordability of childcare so that parents can make the transition back to work. And the CARE tax credit is intentionally designed to be broad and flexible. We want to provide choice for parents. We understand they all have different preferences and family arrangements for childcare. So this can go to public or private childcare, and it can also go towards things like after school programs or summer camps if that's what parents choose. And so there's a lot to talk about, but maybe I'll end off there because I know, Jonathan, you have lots of questions, but I also want to say, if there are questions that you have that are not answered today, just reach out to my office, by phone or by email, and we'll answer your questions. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Jonathan.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all the information. In the half hour we have, I think you covered a lot of the questions that we have. So we only have a few minutes left. So what I think perhaps we'll do is we will reach out to the people who asked the questions and give them your contact information so that they can contact you directly and hopefully get answers.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. I think, as you say, there's lots of people that contact our office, but some people don't think to contact their MPP
right
during times like this. So we're also trying to reach out to those that wouldn't think to call, and just to check in on people like, seniors that have become isolated during this time. So for sure.
Right, which is great. So we are running short of time. I wanted to ask Tony Jansen, the chair, or the vice chair rather, of the Scugog Chamber of Commerce. Sorry, he's past chair, to say a few words. But I wanted to thank you very, very much for being here today, for taking the time out of your schedule. I know you're busy. I know it's hectic out there, especially with your boss being at home. So all the best through the rest of this pandemic. Appreciate your time, and we'll certainly look forward to chatting with you again. I would at this time like to ask Tony Jansen, who I said is the past president of the chamber, to say a few words. Tony.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Tony Jansen, and I'm the past chair of the Scugog Chamber of Commerce. I've been on the board for over 30 years, and the chamber has grown over the years, and it remains very strong through COVID with a number of, 235 members. We'd like to take an opportunity to thank MPP Lindsey Park for speaking today and give us a virtual update of what the province is doing to help Ontario through the pandemic and beyond. Also like to thank Susan McGovern from the Ontario Tech University for sponsoring this event today. And also like to throw out a really big thanks to Jonathan Van Bilsen. This is his third virtual meeting he's done for us as our MC. He's working hard and he's very dedicated, and to every production that we do here. And he's created a lot of good information sessions, and there's more to come. On that note, I'd like everyone to please mark their calendar for our next guest speaker, who will be John Henry, the Region Chair for Durham. John will be speaking on Friday, May the 28th at 12 p.m. Be sure to go to the Chamber's website, scugogchamber.ca, and sign up on Eventbrite today. This is a free session, so we hope that we have a lot of people. I'm sure he's got some great stuff to talk about from the region level. So thank you, and now back to you, John.
Great. Thank you very much, Tony. And on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce for Scugog, I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us, and please stay safe.